So today I'm here with my parents, Mark and Sammy, and I'm so happy that you guys came. I know that this isn't an easy thing to talk about, so I'm so grateful that they're here with us today. And I wanted them to just talk a little bit more about their experience with my eating disorder. When we first started talking about it, we thought about sharing our story. And then I asked you guys if you would ask some questions, and you guys were so amazing. And we realized that through your questions that we were going to be able to tell our story and their experience with that. So I can't thank you guys enough for your comments and your questions. You guys are amazing, and I couldn't do this without you, so thank you so much. So are you guys ready to get started?
There's lots of good questions. The first one is, when did we first realize that you had an eating disorder? And I think probably the first thing is that your eating habits changed a lot. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't eat anything that had fat in it, and you kind of stopped eating.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of had to make you sit her down and make her eat. Other weight loss. You know, we started noticing that she was losing weight, and I just figured it was the way she was eating. I had a lot of friends that said, do you think there's a problem because Kayli's lost a lot of weight? And I think I was kind of in denial.
Well, and I think, you've always been the kind of mom that's like, no, my daughter's fine. Like,
yeah.
Like, you've always been like, if someone's going to say something, you've been quick to defend me. Like, no, she doesn't have a problem.
Well, and it's easier to think everything's okay than to have to deal with it. So I think it took me a while to finally...
And I was eating, you know, like I was careful with what I was eating. So you knew I was eating something.
Yeah. And excessive exercising. Like, I would wake up in the middle of the night and hear noises, and she would be in her room doing jumping jacks. Or I remember we were sitting watching TV one night, and Mark's like, what is she doing? And she would go outside and just run circles around the house. Do you remember that? You would just go outside and just run
Mm-hmm.
and run and run circles around the house. So I think that was... there was evidence in the bathroom. You could, that someone had been throwing up. I think is really when it really started to hit me that this is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, for me, I think that this problem was quite advanced before I felt that there was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'd already become a cheerleader. You was doing the things that, that the cheerleaders do. I remember going to Pocatello and watching you compete up there. And from that time on, yeah, I could see the devastating effects. I saw you lose a lot of your strength, a lot of the muscle that you had from being active.
That kind of goes with the next question. What did your parents first think at first, and were they ever mad? And I think at first that is the first thing you are, is mad. I was. Because you don't understand. I just thought, just stop. Why can you not just stop? Because it kind of tips the whole family, everything upside down, and you just don't understand that they can't. So I think at first I was really mad. You don't realize it's an addiction, and that it's a sickness, and that they can't just stop.
I think that we always loved Kayli no matter what. But the anger, it would get worse. It would get better. It would get worse. I remember leaving for a weekend with your younger sister Tasha to go to a softball tournament, and the fear and the anger that we were feeling before we left, because we knew what would go on while we were gone. Initially, yeah, we felt that we could scold you or discipline you, be mad, and it would fix whatever was going on, because that was how we raised you. Not beating you or anything like that, but by letting you know that this is the wrong thing and being upset. But I know that initially we was mad, then we were scared, then we were angry, then we were mad again.
And that's a question, how did we deal with it? And I said, I cried a lot because every day I was afraid that you would die. And I think as a parent, when you have a child, that is your biggest fear, is that someday you could lose that child. And I remember going to our family doctor and him saying her potassium levels are dangerous. She could have a heart attack, and it hits you how serious it is. And I lived in fear every day that you was going to die. And it makes you angry, sad, mad, all of those things go through.
Right, something that I wanted to add to that, though, I knew you guys would get mad at me, but I also felt like I could talk to you, when you first came to me and you said, we know there's a problem. And at that time, I thought I wanted help. And I told you everything. I told you, I'm throwing up, and this is when I'm doing it. And this is what else I'm doing. I'm doing all of these things. And then I regretted telling you. I was so mad at myself after, at that moment I wanted to get better. And maybe a few days after that I wanted to still be better, but then I wanted to go back to doing that. And so then I started lying and I started sneaking around.
Because we were catching you. We knew your secrets because you had told us.
Right. So
a lot of them.
When you have an eating disorder, you become like an addict and you think that way. You're sneaky, you lie, you kind of become someone else because you have to keep your addiction going for it to survive. And you want that so much.
And I remember thinking that you were better and you were doing so good, and then I'd find out that you had done it again. So I felt so...
But
I think that when your mom would go in your room and find wrappers and empty food containers, and I think we felt that you was maybe getting better, and
I kind of felt betrayed, I guess,
Right, because throughout this time, I did open up to you and tell you things, and then I would regret it. So that happened a lot, and I want other parents out there to understand, I wanted to get better at those times. I wasn't lying,
Right.
I wanted that. I was reaching out, but it's an addiction and it's a problem.
the way we're dealing with this, I know that your mom, she cried a lot, and I know that she felt that I just ignored the problem, hoping it would go away. And as we get out in the world and we try to earn a living and we try to climb that corporate ladder and do the things that we think that it's what we need to do, a lot of times we feel like, well, first off, we're losing touch with our identity, spending more time at our jobs than we are in our lives at home. And I know that Sammy probably felt, hey, he's just not dealing with it. First off, I wasn't sure whether to be embarrassed. Not, in the workforce, you feel out of control a lot of times. And I felt that our family life was the only thing I had control of. And I was losing control of that with my oldest daughter. Blaming myself, knowing that for a lot of years we were just a couple of kids trying to raise kids, wondering if it was our fault. I don't know. It seems like us, as trying to deal with this, I think we did a lot of things different. I really did. I didn't talk to anyone about it. No one at work. Didn't talk to Mom very much about it unless we was going somewhere. Then it would turn into an argument, a heated discussion. I don't know. I know Mom did a lot more than I did. I know she took you to different counselors, to hypnotists, she was very involved.
Well, I kind of felt alone, I think. You know, not that you weren't there because you were busy, but just trying to figure out how to fix it. Well, someone asked, did your parents understand that it was an addiction? And did they think a simple visit to the therapist could fix it? And actually, yeah, I think I did. And I think we tried 3 different counselors and a hypnotist. And I don't think you liked any of them, did you?
No, I hated it. I thought it was silly. And my first counselor, my first therapist, wanted to blame my mom. She kept saying, what's your relationship like with your mom? Kept asking me all these questions about my mom. And I thought, if you're going to attack my mom, I'm not coming back. Like, it's not my mom's fault. And at the time, I thought, I just want to be skinny. Why can't anyone understand that? I just want to be skinny. Like, just let me be skinny. Like, I didn't understand that there was so much more to it. So I stopped going to her. And then another one was a man, and I thought, how could a man understand what I'm going through? So I didn't want to. And then we tried the hypnotist. And I remember when we were there, I was just like, I'm just going to do whatever they tell me to do because it's so weird. This is so weird. What are we doing? And so I did, and I wanted it to work because I wanted to get better for you guys.
And I thought that kind of helped you, but it was so expensive that we just couldn't afford that. And so I felt really bad about that because I thought maybe that would help, but it was just so much money that we just couldn't keep going there.
And I think the last counselors, the last therapist we went to, it was 2 women. And I do feel like they helped me the most.
And it asks what was Kayli's lowest point, and was it hard to watch her reach her lowest point? So what do you think? I know what mine was. What?
Well, I feel like I hit a couple low points while I was suffering because when I first started and I was able to kind of get deep into my eating disorder before you guys really knew, and then I continued to get deeper and deeper, I felt like I really hit a low point then.
I remember when you got probably the thinnest you had ever been, and we were in church, and you had laid your head in my lap, and I was just rubbing your back, and I could feel every bone down your spine and your ribs, and it was just like someone had just hit me over the head, like this is got to be fixed or she's gonna die.
I do remember though during these low points, like I said, I feel like that there were 2 that you guys were always there for me, and you were the ones that lifted me up from those low points, talking to you and to be able to tell you my darkest secrets. We always kept that communication open, and I was able to tell you things, even though I regretted that later, but you guys both helped me through. And my low point when I was a senior, when I felt like was my lowest and lowest point, was what I talked about before, when you told me that I was normal and that I was okay. So
Going through all of that, about that same time, I remember going into the guy that handles our insurance at work and trying to figure out what we was going to do, how we file for a therapist, to, as far as our insurance papers, not knowing anything about that, having no idea. And at that time, he was probably the only one at my work that knew anything was going on. And I must have been wearing it pretty heavy on my sleeve because when he was done with the business end of it, he stopped and says, "You will get through this." He said, "I know it's going to be a long road. You'll get through this." He says, "We all have trouble. And I think that's when I had to come to grips with what's normal, just like with you. I mean, what is normal?
I think it's important too to know you're not the only ones going through it. I thought we were the only ones going through this, and there was other cheer parents and a few people that knew what was going on that would come up to me and say, you know, how is Kayli? How are things going? You know, we went through the same thing. It's going to be okay. And I thought they were these perfect families where nothing went wrong. And I did finally realize that this happens to good people. It happens in good families. You know, it's you know, it's going to be okay. One of the other questions is, did you start thinking about everything you did bringing Kayli up and wonder what you could have done differently? Or did you ever blame yourself? This is probably the hardest one for me because, yes, I did wonder every day if it was my fault, if I had done something wrong, what I could have done differently. And if I was a bad mom, I still, to this day, go back and wonder what I could have done different, what I should have done. It's hard as a parent when you have a child go through something like that. It's hard. And I think advice to other parents when you're going through something like this is to remember you have other kids, because we were so focused on Kayli and trying to help her and get her better that we kind of ignored, I guess, the other kids a little bit, and it kind of caused a few problems with them. So, you know, just remember that it will affect your whole family, and that the whole family goes through it, not just you and not just them, but the whole family. So to remember them.
I wanted to talk to anyone out there that might be going through something like this too, and that is to remember that your whole family is going through something like this, because I didn't. I knew my parents got mad at me over the things that I did. Did I know that it was causing them to argue? No. Did I know that, you know, you were having such a hard time? I didn't. I wasn't thinking about my family. I was thinking about myself, and I didn't think about how my sisters that looked up to me because I was their older sister, how it affected them. And, you know, I just didn't think about those things. So I think it's important to have honesty, and even if it's hard to hear, I think it's good for parents to tell their kids exactly what is going on, to maybe sit down and have any younger siblings tell their loved one or their brother or sister that might be going through something like this is hurting me and this is why. I'm scared that you're going to die. Like, I think it's so important that people suffering hear those things, because I think it would have made a difference.
I think Markel told you that once, didn't she?
Not that I read.
She said, you know, I was afraid Kayli was going to die.
I think she said that, but I don't think I knew any of that until...
She had a friend, and she always wanted to go there. She was always gone, and later I think she said it, you know, was just easier to be gone, you know? So I think it is important to sit down, and I mean, that's something I don't think to this day we've all really sat down and talked about and dealt with, is how it affected everyone differently.
You know, as far as blaming ourselves, it's how do you not? Was we strict enough? Was we too strict? Did we say something wrong when you was growing up, when you was young? Should we have said more? Should we have encouraged you more? You know, I think that we live with that today. as you talked about this, and after you'd made your first video, and you talked to Mom and says, Mom, this is harder than I ever thought it would be. This is bringing up emotions, and it's rekindled a lot with us. And to this day, when I see you, if you've lost a little weight, I get a sick feeling inside. Not because I think, oh, she's probably working out, she's exercising, she's taking care of herself, she's being healthy. But because I think that you're doing this, that this has got a hold of you again.
It asks what things are you glad that we did that helped you at that time? Like, what can you tell parents maybe were some of the things that we did that helped you?
I think, like I said before, always making your loved one feel like they can come to you, or your son or daughter feel like they can come to you, because I did feel that way. I knew I might get in trouble, but I felt like I could come to you guys and I could talk to you, and I'm so grateful for that, because it helped me get out of those hard times, and it helped me get past those hard things.
I noticed a few girls that said, I don't know how to tell my parents about this. They probably suspect that you have an eating disorder anyways. It's going to be easier than you think. They may not understand it at first, and it's going to take some time. You have to be patient with them, and talking to a parent. Please be patient with your child or loved one, whoever it is. You just have to love them and be patient and understanding. I just think that's the most important.
And I think listen.
Yeah.
I think listen to your child. If they're being brave enough to tell you all these things, listen. And if you have nothing good to say, it's not always a bad thing to be quiet and to not say anything. Because I did feel like you were there for me, even if you feel like you didn't. You don't always have to say anything, because you listened, and I knew you were listening. So
I think that as a parent, if you can't talk to someone, if there's no close friend or anyone, get some counseling, get some help for you. I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have got some counseling so I could have been more help to you, because that would have helped me so much to help you. I really believe that.
Okay, so the last question is, how is your relationship with your parents now compared to back then, and has it brought you closer?
well, I think that we've all grown a lot. Of course, back then I was a teenager. I was young. I was rebelling in ways. Now I'm a parent, and I understand where you're coming from, and I have so much more compassion and understanding of where you guys were coming from. You know, I think of what I would do if this were Braylee and if she were going through these things. And so I think that our relationship is different in that way. And we've always been really, really close. I've always felt really close to you guys.
Even though we fought a lot through all of this, you was still like my best friend. So it's like 1 minute we could be yelling and screaming. Mark still makes fun of us for some of the arguments and fights we had. But at the same time, 10 minutes later, we were telling each other things just like we were best friends. So I think, it did make us closer.
Mm-hmm.
And I still feel like you're my best friend.
Yes, me too.
And I'm so proud of you for doing this to help people. So, so proud.
I believe that we've always been close. I think that our family's very close, and could it have brought us closer? I don't know, but I feel that if we wouldn't have been as close as we are, and if you wouldn't have had the relationship with your mother, I think you would have died from this. And if there's someone out there who doesn't feel like they can talk to their parents about this, just give it a try. Just
Talk to someone.
Just try it. You're going to be no worse off by talking to your parents about it than you are right now. They can help you. Someone will help you.
So I think that this is probably one of the first times that all three of us have sat down together. I've talked to you both about certain things, but this is the first time that we've all sat down together. So thank you. I know it hasn't been easy, but thank you so much. And hopefully we helped answer some of your questions, and hopefully we've helped you guys not feel as alone. There is someone out there that cares about you, and try to find someone who you can talk to about any of your problems. I'm happy to hear from any of you guys. Please leave in the comments below any questions, any concerns, anything in the comments down below, and I will be checking them. I know my mom checks them. So we are here for you if you want to tell us anything. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Love you guys.
See ya.
Love you too.
Love you.
Bye.